And now to the details. President John Mahama has announced his government is pursuing a progressively free senior high education. The concept was the opposition NPP's major campaign proposal during the 2012 election season. Giving account of his stewardship in Parliament on Tuesday, President Mahama said his government is committed to making senior high school education progressively free. Education was the third item on the president's address. An instant roar by the minority followed President Mahama's announcement that the Education Ministry is working on modalities to roll out a free senior high school model.
Prepared a report on the roadmap for a progressive introduction of free secondary education in Ghana. And mark my words, I said progressive introduction of free secondary education in Ghana as required under the 1992 Constitution. This roadmap will be presented to Cabinet for approval and subsequent implementation. Under the guidance of this roadmap, we can anticipate that fees for day students will be abolished at an estimated cost of 71 million Ghana cedis in 2015-2016 academic year.
On the 200 senior high school President Mahama promised in 2012, he said 3rd March is the rollout date for the first batch.
Government's program to construct 200 new community-based schools is on track. Architectural drawings, designs and quantities have been completed. Sites for the schools have been selected, and the procurement process for the first batch of schools is currently ongoing. The start of construction works for these schools was held back in 2013 because of the detailed work that went into the preparatory process. I enjoin all you members of this House to join me for the commencement of the construction of the first batch of these schools next month. Precisely, Mr. Speaker, precisely on 3rd March. You are all invited.
Government had earlier indicated the schools will be constructed in batches of 50 over the 4 years of its tenure. Other interventions on education as maintained by the President includes an ongoing redeployment of teachers to deal with an apparent imbalance in rural-urban teacher distribution. He also spoke about improvements at the basic education level being extended to 1,900 communities. He said the removal of teacher trainee allowance, which has met some opposition, has increased teacher trainee intake from 9,000 to 15,000. He also announced a uniform fee payment regime instituted to ensure parents pay only what is appropriate in school fees. At the tertiary level, he noted that plans to convert polytechnics into universities is still on course, as sponsored research into skills on demand in the job market are also being pursued. This will be followed by a readjustment of the university curricula accordingly. Not much progress was reported of the Eastern University, except that work is on course to bring that promise into fruition. For Joynews, Gifty Andopia, Parliament House, Accra. We're still in Parliament. Meanwhile, President Mahama has indicated that government will continue to pursue measures to ensure sustainable health care for all Ghanaians. The President, during the State of the Nation address, announced that his government has released 50 million Ghana cedis to assist local pharmaceutical companies produce antiretroviral drugs to reduce the importation of such drugs for HIV patients.
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to announce that we are on track to exceed the target of a 50% reduction in new infections by 2015. We're also leading the way in sub-Saharan Africa with over 76% reduction in new HIV infections among children.
Key among the other interventions by government to improve upon healthcare delivery in the country is the construction of 12 new district hospitals in Sekondi, Dodowa, Garu Tankwane, among others.
Mr. Speaker, our policy is to provide every district with a modern health facility. The newly constructed Takwa Hospital has been equipped and is now open for use. this has improved the quality of health care in that catchment area.
The president also reiterated his commitment to construct 1,600 community-based health and planning services compounds throughout the country.
The compounds are staffed with trained nurses, midwives, and other auxiliary health personnel. They are located in rural and peri-urban communities, and they provide basic health care services, including antenatal care to pregnant women.
The president also added that government would upgrade the Legon Hospital into a teaching hospital and increase the bed capacity to 600 to help decongest patients in the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and other major facilities in the capital.
Well, he has also been talking about government's plans to improve upon existing infrastructure in the country. According to him, the results of infrastructure development will be evident by 2015.
President Mahama outlined initiatives put in place to address the housing deficit, which he says now stands at 1.7 million.
Various state agencies have been tasked to finance and complete the projects that were being undertaken under the Kufuor administration. The Tema Development Corporation is working on buildings at the Kong site, while the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has taken over the construction of the units at Boteman, Asokore Mampo in Kumasi, Foforidua, Tamale, and Wa. Mr. Speaker, information and communications technology can improve the quality of life of our people. Just think of all the ways we now use our mobile phones.
He gave the assurance that the current water deficit in the urban areas will be resolved by 2015.
Between this year and 2015, the total water supply to the Greater Accra metropolitan area will increase to 158.3 million gallons of water per day. This will be enough, I said this will be enough, to tackle the water demands in the area by the end of 2015. And this is the good news. This will end the water starvation in the northern parts of the capital city. So those of you, end of this year, those of you who live in Adenta, Hacho, East Legon, Agbogba, Madina, Abokobi, will all receive water. Mr. Speaker, the projects I'm referring to are the Kong Water Supply Expansion Project, the Kong Intake Rehabilitation Project, the Accra Tema Metropolitan Area Water Supply Project, and the Teshi Nungwa Desalination Water Project.
For the transport sector, President Mahama told the House the runway at the Kumasi Airport is being upgraded and modern navigation systems are also being installed for better services. He said the Kotoka International Airport is also being upgraded, adding a new terminal to contain the increasing traffic is under construction. According to him, the railway sector will also be revived during his term in office.
Ghana will witness a revival of its railway transport service. Order. Carting export produce to the ports and safely carrying commuters over various distances. As I speak, work on the Sekondi Kojo-Krom railway line is on track. Mr. Speaker, I've asked the team comprising the Minister for Finance and the Minister for Transport to actualize my plans for the railway sector, which includes the construction of a new rail link between Tema and the Buankra Inland Port, and then also the Western Rail Line between Takrady and Kumasi, as a way of attracting more interest and revenue-generating activity from our landlocked neighbors.
So on to a bit of a lighter side. Now, he got the entire Parliament House bursting out with laughter during the presentation of the State of the Nation, when he jokingly told members of the minority side to put themselves in order since he was not their co-equal. After gills of laughter reverberated through the chamber, the president added jovially, "Who said cheer?"
Last week, Thursday, Parliament banned the use of the word cheer from its proceedings. Speaker of Parliament Do Ajaho described the Chi word cheer as unparliamentary. The word cheer is a chuckle normally used to express disapproval of a person or topic. So even before the delivery of the 2014 State of the Nation's address, the debate surfaced in Parliament over whether MPs would respect the Speaker's decision not to use the word cheer. Immediately, President President Mahama entered the Chamber of Parliament to deliver the State of the Nation address, it was clear that even though the word Chia has been described as unparliamentary by the Speaker, there was no way members, especially those from the minority side, would heed to the directive.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to be addressing the full House today, and I wish to thank all my parliamentary colleagues for the cooperation you have continually extended to me since I was sworn in as President.
The President's delivery was no doubt without some heckling. Whenever the majority side shouted, "Yeah, yeah," to hail a portion of the President's speech, the minority would respond with cheer. As the heckling continued unabated, the President had to step in at a point.
Order, I'm not your co-equal. Mr. Speaker. Yes. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. Who said chair?
The President was then forced to yo-yo between jokes and real business as he delivered his address, occasionally telling members of the minority side that he was schooling them. Lest you forget, the word Chia is still unparliamentary. Members who use the word today may have gotten away with it, but when the debate on the budget starts, would the word Chia resurface again?
Mr. Speaker, who said Chia?
Well, the State of the Nation address never goes away without various reactions and counter-reactions from both sides of the political divide. Now, members of the opposition have called it a repetition of the 2013 State of the Nation's address, whilst those of the ruling NDC maintain government's achievements are obvious. Former President John Rawlings, who described the current conditions of living in the country as unbearable, says the address was comprehensive. Minority Member of Parliament for Dom Kwabenya constituency, Adwa Safo, said her side of the political divide is deeply satisfied about the President's decision to go back for their manifesto promise, that is the free senior high school education.
Would you tell us your general impressions about the State of the Nation by the President?
Even though I thought it was quite comprehensive, I thought I heard the opposition also saying Yatiabre. I know there's a lot of pain on the ground too.
Why do you say that, Chairman?
Because it's a reality. That is not to say that development projects are not taking place. The cost of living is almost unbearable, isn't it?
And this address sounded like lamentations of an opposition leader. I mean, he was virtually lamenting about the lack of progress when he's the one supervising. You talked about the Lands Commission, for instance, and the fact that state enterprises are not doing their job. As the Chief Executive of State, when people are not doing their job, you hold them responsible. You don't come and stand in front of 25 million people and lament and appeal to them to do their job. That's not how you run a country. I think the President loves giving directives, and in his first address, I quite remember when he became President, I counted over 60 directives. Today, I think he surpassed that figure.
Gradually, the President and the other side of the political divide are coming to the realization that indeed the free education that Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo talked about is actually doable. Most of the things that were said last year were not done. A typical example is the SHS. the schools that they said they will build. Up to date, it hasn't been built. The president has been to the House to say in this year's address that on the 3rd of March they are commencing construction. We live to see that. We want to see and hear more of that we have done than we want to do.
If you read last year's statement and you heard him, then it was a repeat of what was said last year. I was listening more on what we were going to do about the economy. I didn't hear much, and I'm very disappointed. What is he going to do about the wage bill that he says is unsustainable? Is he going to talk about a consensus for retrenchment? Is that on the table? The servanted organizations, how many are going to go off? And in what period of time? Those issues must be dealt with now, not later.
Dealing with the issue of the economy, we have a situation where our economy is growing at above 7%. Every economy, if you are not just on a political path, will admit that for an economy to be growing around 7%, that is an economy that is doing well. If we are to deal with all the other challenges, our growth rate will be shooting up to above 10%. The most important aspect also is that he's saying that let us come together. In coming together, let us admit that His Excellency the President is doing very, very well. He's not saying that he has solved all the problems of Ghana in just a matter of 1 year. What he's saying is that there is a brighter light at the end of the channel if we came together as one people.
It is the primetime bulletin here on Joynews and also on ABN TV. We'll be right back with some more news. Please stay. You're welcome back. Many thanks for staying. Now, 5 young men have been arrested by the police in connection with a planned mob attack on 2 police stations on Tuesday. The 5 had planned a demonstration to revenge the death of another young man killed on Saturday at Asylum Down in Accra.
The Kotobabe police station area was thrown into a state of chaos when police mounted an exercise to disperse and arrest the angry youth that had planned to attack the station. The exercise attracted several onlookers as the police patrolled the area.
When a moment we see motorbike and people holding that there is a signboard, there is written on the signboard that fuck Ghana police, and the next thing we see that the policemen took car from the police station to rush the guys over there, and the guys, they start running away and they start giving warning shots on air, and the next thing they started beating the boys, taking some of them into the car.
The police say they picked up intelligence that a group of young men had planned to attack the Nima police station Tuesday morning. Upon a tip-off, the police quickly rushed to the Nima police station to save the situation, but however learned the mob had diverted its routes to the Kotobabe police station.
Yeah, they were throwing stones with other machetes, trying to attack the police with placards. That's what we have experienced this morning. So far, we have used our riot equipment and we have dispersed the crowd. And we've got hold of 5 of them.
Earlier reports suggested armed policemen on night patrol opened fire and shot the victim, Saddam Abdullahi, who was riding a motorbike with another late Saturday after they defied an order by the policemen to stop. But the police, however, have denied killing him. The 5 arrested are soon to be arraigned before court.
The Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences has held its 47th J.B. Dankwa Memorial Lecture at the British Council Hall on the topic Ghana's Polarized Political Terrain. Key speaker for the first day of the event, Professor Ajiman Bedu-Akosa, Executive Director of Healthy Ghana, believes that Ghana is experiencing unprecedented polarization in its political landscape. Marian Ture has the rest of the story.
Professor Ajiman Bedu-Akosa asserts the Ghanaian public has grown more polarized with political divisions based on partisan affiliations. The polarization, he believes, is growing drastically, particularly on issues such as economic growth, development and the role of government. This phenomenon dates back to the era of J.B. Dankwa and the 27th September 1954 march, where he spelled out what Federalists were mandated to do. Africa today, according to Professor Akosa, is still centered on tribal politics and tribal sentiments, realities which all politicians will either have to deal with, crush, or manipulate. In his view, there is still the need to address the acts of violence meted out to Ghanaians, in particular market women going about their normal duties, and especially the shooting of the 3 ex-heads of states and 5 senior military personnel during the revolution.
The acts of which some of these military personnel were killed were so inconsequential, such as a loan of 50,000 secured by Rear Admiral Amedume for the Volta Regional Development Corporation, Voradek. For some of them, it is even difficult to ascribe any motive leading to the assassinations. The families of all these people and the many Ghanaians who appeared at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission but got no satisfaction continue their search for justice in their own way. It is also a tribute to the character of the Ghanaian that this has not in any way degenerated into a vendetta. Many such persons continue to seethe in anger on hearing the Flight Lieutenant Rawlins in his unsolicited booms.
The lecture brought together several party stalls, civil society, students, the general public, media and several interest groups. Marian Toure, Joynews, Accra.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Ephraim Avianso says the only way to halt youth migration from the north to the south is to assure the youth of all year-round farming. Dr. Avian made the statements when he appeared before the Upper West Youth Parliament in Wa. Rafiq Salam reports.
The Upper West Youth Parliament draws its powers from the Youth Policy document, which was launched in 2010 and has youth in governance and democracy as one of its priority areas. Duty bearers in the region are hauled to the Youth Parliament to answer questions relating to their stewardship and plans for the youth in the region. The Upper West Regional Minister, Dr. Ephraim Avianso, was invited to brief the House on plans he has for the youth. He was welcomed into the House by the majority and minority leaders. Dr. Avianso told the youth parliamentarians that his greatest challenge in the region has to do with shoddy work by contractors, which he is working to change. He stated that due to short rainfall pattern in the region, majority of the youth migrate to the southern belt of the country in search of non-existent jobs, thereby returning home with empty hands and diseases.
And I'm not aware whether you heard, and she should have heard, that have been broken people's buildings down and made them to redo them. Because for once again, we have no reason that things that were built in Nkrumah's old days, Mr. Speaker, that at that time, people, we didn't have so many engineers, we didn't have so many quantity surveyors, we didn't have so many works foremen. Yet those buildings are sitting today even stronger than some of the buildings here. It's a shame that you go to assemblies, you have all, Mr. Speaker, you have all an array of engineers, an array of quantity surveyors, an array of all the technical men, and yet you have very poor quality buildings. What are
He said per the Regional Development Strategy document, the focus for the youth is an all-year-round farming which will curb migration of the youth to the southern belt of the country. The Upper West Regional Director of the National Youth Authority, Mohammed Abdul Mumin Suleimana, threw more light on the worth of the Youth Parliament in the region. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
Traders in the textile business are calling on government to put in place measures to increase education on the importation of fake textiles onto the market. According to them, traders have not received any form of education as promised by government some months ago.
In order to check the inflow of pirated textiles into the country, the government constituted an anti-piracy task force. But late last year, the operations of the task force was suspended as a result of pleas from traders who claimed to be victims of circumstances. The government then assured them of starting a program to educate traders on the difference between genuine and pirated textiles.
I'm going to ask the Minister of Trade to allow a moratorium of the work of the Piracy Task Force in order that together with the market queens, they can carry out education to the women about the effect that pirated textiles have on our textile industries. If they can spend another 3 months and go to all the markets and educate the women, show them the different types of textiles and how to determine the pirated textiles so that the women are aware that, you know, you're not allowed to do this. I think that it should help the situation.
But for over a month now, traders say they haven't received any education and fear this will affect their business.
Say, yeah, no, be a make today and say, where you design, and now where you design. Only so much may be a was screen no so. I said, we no design, so now designs. Na new ones now one way, no, yeah, any woman new designs now one way. And the answer to this, oh, Mamma, dear, my young who, na young who say, wait, dear, one of the banner be a Okta or Bachelor, and so up to now will be unfair, be my sir.
Ceciano, dealers no more than your mabano. Omo designs and old ones no etwemukono into at present ne de so omo ba nyoma ne de bi odwom but so omo benya be a printers for white no and the still no omo de ba
mi osusu ba mi relax na agbamo kokove ofia mu da ka for tomi kaka nyoba amakoga ba shiama aga ba toshi paper rojinami ala over people subo tanu ga tan va shama atoshi pe paro jinamia anyo tami gbagba jancho ni anchi tani mi le togo ma mi gbori na togo to ba no troshi le paper anchi.
Meanwhile, the National Task Force on Pirated Clothes has given cloth sellers up to April to dispose of their pirated clothes before seizure and destruction of pirated clothes begin in May 2014. Matilda Pamaga for Joynews, Accra.
A lead economist with the World Bank has pointed to youth unemployment and underemployment as the main barriers to the development of West Africa. According to Dion Filmer, governments within the sub-region must consider investing more in household enterprises and the agri sector, as they are the best ways to curb youth unemployment. He made these remarks during his presentation of the World Bank report on youth unemployment in the sub-Saharan region.
According to the World Bank report, over 11 million youths are expected to enter the labor market in the sub-region between 2013 and 2014. Majority of these youths are expected to work in the informal sector. Due to the growing youth population in the sub-region, the World Bank report challenged African leaders to reduce corruption in the manufacturing sector to allow the sector to expand and employ more young people.
On the issue of household enterprises being suppressed, absolutely. I mean, you can, if anything, you can point to support as reinforcing your position that it is just a fact of the matter that these household enterprises are here. They're here to stay for the medium term. They need to recognize and plan for. And policies need to enable access to the services for these enterprises to enable them to be productive. Absolutely. That is one of the major points of this report. You actually pointed implicitly to another two issues that enable these women, in the case of what you were describing, L'Oreal, cooking better, eating better, some of that involves investment. And access, and to enable investment, we need access to capital. And that's where that financial inclusion story becomes really important. It is one part of the physical structure, the space to do business, and the security that you're not going to be swept away. And perhaps the other is access to capital so that you can invest in your business.
According to the report, not only does the exclusion of young people from the labor market perpetuate a generational cycle of poverty, but also breaks down social cohesion and can be associated with higher levels of crime and violence among idle youths. Touching on the manufacturing sector, the report challenged African leaders to invest more in vocational and technical training.
What you said rings a bell for me, and this has come up in a number of situations where we presented this report, which is youth despise the work of agriculture. Another person also referred to something like this, talking about rural urban migration. But I think one thing to recognize is one of the reasons why youth don't like working in agriculture is because earnings are so low. The livelihood is a very difficult livelihood, and that's driving it. So if productivity can be increased in agriculture, it will become a more attractive place to be. You know, I didn't talk about this, but one of the key things, one of the things we point out in the report is that a country like Vietnam still has 15% of the population working in agriculture, which may surprise some of you. You know, we think of Vietnam as being a country that's really gone through structural transformation. But actually, it has very much so in sort of, when you look at output statistics, but perhaps surprisingly to some of you, the share of the population in agriculture is still quite high, still 50%. A key difference is far fewer of those are living in poverty, far fewer of those are working for very low returns.
Now, water supply to parts of Accra has improved, as promised by the Ghana Water Company. Joynews ran checks around town, especially in Accra New Town.
For the past, I would say, 2 weeks, we've not had water flowing in our taps. So we have to go down there to go and look for this dig water from the ground. I would say the borehole, yes. I would say since yesterday. We had water yesterday in the evening around from 8 o'clock, I think, till this morning.
Okay, be what we can do any nyansu. We can nyansu. We want to not pet and head a buy. And not pet and buy. And you know, and not pet a head a buy.
And so the Nigeria the action of pay. Yeah, business 1.5 years in. Your Koto Galo back who and city.
A little of good news there, but business news is next.
Time now for some business reports with me, Abigail Adumakwinchi. Now, President John Mahama has attributed the current turbulence in the economy mainly to dependence on exports of raw materials. In his address to the nation, he was emphatic that the economic challenges are temporary as a medium-term development framework is now in place to change the current structure of the economy.
President Mahama in his second State of the Nation address acknowledged the pressures on the economy and the unpleasant measures government have had to introduce to address the economic challenges. For him, aside the global economic slowdown that has trickled down to Ghana, the entire economy needs a radical change. He believes the difficulties that Ghanaians are currently facing will soon be over as government is working on an overhaul of the economy.
We must change the structure of our economy. We must reduce the importation of items that we have a comparative advantage to produce. I have dialogued with the NDPC that is working on this plan and urge them to come out with a plan that fundamentally addresses this weakness in the structure of our economy. I have specifically asked them to handle the process of drawing up this plan in a way as to create a buy-in from all Ghanaians, irrespective of political affiliation or societal status. I wish to assure this august House and the good citizens of Ghana that as with the taste of any bitter medicine, this turbulence we are going through is temporary. And I assure you that we shall begin to see the benefits of the sacrifices we are making very soon.
He expressed worry over the import-driven nature of the economy, stating that Ghana in 2013 alone imported produce worth $1.5 billion, with rice being the highest with $374 million worth of import. President Mahama, however, indicated that several projects are ongoing to strengthen the local manufacturing industry to boost exports and ensure patronage of made-in-Ghana goods.
A fundamental problem of our economy is that we do not make what we consume. Financing has been finalized for the construction of a new sugar processing plant in Komenda. This would reduce our importation of sugar. We are also in discussion with another private investor about the establishment of another sugar processing plant in the northern region near Sablugu. I have tasked the Cocoa Board to enter into a strategic partnership to produce jute sacks in Ghana. This will begin by the importation of the jute fiber and the sewing of the sacks locally, but it will be eventually backward integrated into the production of kenaf and the weaving of the jute fibers locally. Mr. Speaker, when this is achieved, Cocoa Board will be required to halt the importation of jute sacks for cocoa and buy all its sacks from this factory.
Although the recent regulations of the central bank are in full force, President Mahama urged investors not to panic as the country remains peaceful, safe and secure. He also assured investors that the repatriation of their profits is still guaranteed and the Bank of Ghana's measures will not affect the existing agreements with businesses. Abigail Admakwenchi for Joynews.
Still on the State of the Nation's address, businesses have applauded the president for showing commitment to boosting local industries and ensuring that Ghanaians patronize made-in-Ghana goods. They say although the president's zeal to cut down the volumes of imports is commendable, the address was not clear on the needed pragmatic plans to boost exports.
To patronize what we produce here locally. That is the best gift that we can say that we have, because it belongs to us. It's ours. We know what we need and we make sure that we tailor to suit our needs. Even those who import can start by adding value. Semi-finished, they start by adding value to whatever they bring down. Some of the things we can do here locally. And we have most of the raw materials here. Even the raw materials that we don't have, once we are able to plan, I think we should be able to add value and manufacture more items.
We did not see specifically some of the things that needed to be done to make the economy export-driven. You see, export-oriented. Even though we need that generally you have to cover every areas of the economy, every area of the economy, but then the president could have been a lot more, specific, particularly when it comes to financing to small and medium-scale enterprises. In 2014 budget, the minister did indicate the setting up of 50 million Ghana cedi fund. Now, I was waiting, to hear that how is this fund going to be operationalized, and then that is something that we have not really as yet heard.
There are a lot of challenges. It has been said time and again that they create the enabling environment, but we don't know where the enabling environment is. Maybe if it's a garden somewhere, then we can go there and flourish. But on a more serious note, right from registering your business to tax issues and all that, it is just a hell of a problem in doing business. A friend of mine says doing business in Ghana is more or less like a punishment.
In essence, you're saying that you're not satisfied with the President's State of the Nation's address, because he made mention of the fact that they are making sure doing business in Ghana is really easy. Well, as you said, he said they are making sure, so they've not made sure yet. But we are still hopeful. Okay, if it is not for hope, we will not be here, because it has always been difficult. It's not as if that it happened only yesterday. Since the dawn of dark ages, it has always been difficult running businesses. So I think that government it should be the primary responsibility of government to make things easier for private people to flourish. Minister of Trade and Industry Haruna Idusu says his outfit is set to roll out a comprehensive sensitization exercise to promote industries in Ghana and their products. He says government is poised to support the domestic private sector in building their competitiveness.
We will soon unveil and roll out a comprehensive national education and sensitization exercise with the Association of Ghana Industries. We currently are even undergoing procurement on that to promote made in Ghana goods. So you soon see adverts both on television and radio promoting made in Ghana goods. We also are supporting the domestic private sector in building their competitiveness. For instance, the President announced that 50 million Ghana cedis is being given to local pharmaceutical companies, which is a fact. One or two of them have already received funding to improve their capacity. We expect that they can manufacture antiretroviral drugs within Ghana, and we expect that they can manufacture for future exports. So financial stimulus support has been extended to them. If this year 2014 is the pharmaceutical sector, you can focus 2015 on export sector or agro-processing. That we will do with support from the Export Development and Agricultural Investment Fund.
And that's it for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwinchi. Sports is up next.
News making rounds in the world of sports, and President Mahama has indicated work on sports-oriented senior high schools will begin in earnest. The President made this revelation while delivering the State of the Nation's address this afternoon in Parliament. According to President Mahama, the government has completed the review of drawings and possible locations, and he expects work to begin this year.
Mr. Speaker, for the third consecutive time, our senior national football team, the Ghana Black Stars, have qualified for the prestigious 2014 FIFA World Cup, to be held in Brazil in June this year. Our national female soccer team, the Ghana Black Queens, also qualified to participate in the next FIFA World Tournament, scheduled to take place in Costa Rica next month. Still on sports, our local Black Stars won last year's Wafu Zone B tournament, which was hosted here in Ghana. This tournament prepared us for the 2014 Chan tournament, which was recently concluded in South Africa. We won the silver medal in that tournament. Mr. Speaker, our sports teams consistently make Ghana stand out as being the best Africa has to offer. As part of our commitment to ensure the further development of sports, the National Sports College in Winneba has been pursuing successful private collaborations for infrastructural development through the public-private partnership arrangement. Government last year reviewed drawings of the sports arenas and sports senior high schools to be established in the regions, and we expect construction work to begin soon.
Africa for Final initiative has been launched in Accra. The initiative seeks to galvanize support for African teams at the 2014 FIFA World Cup with the hope of seeing them in the final. Samuel Osei-Danso is a leading member of the Africa for Final initiative.
We have formed a united and dedicated support base comprising fans and supporters from all over Africa to motivate, support and cheer all the African teams that are to participate in the Brazil 2014 soccer fest. Careful study of the trend of performance of African teams at the World Cup shows a trend of progress at every World Cup competition since 1982. Consequently, after some reflections on the efforts and performances of our teams, we of the Africa for Final initiative, a lot more could be done for Africa in terms of stronger support and motivation for the teams to encourage them to reach their ultimate. We of the Africa for Final initiative and up to 3,000 supporters that AFI is sponsoring to the Brazil 2014 shall be present at and offer the traditional African Western support and cheer on the 5 African teams at all the matches. This unique style of supporting all the African teams instead of hitherto the insular approach where each African country relies only on the supporters the country can raise.
More football, though. Now we turn attention to the UEFA Champions League. One game currently underway. Manchester United trying to sort it out with Olympiacos, but we'll talk about the early game. We'll do the results now. Let's get into what's happening. You know that there are time differences, especially when it comes to the games played in Russia. So the game was played early on, and Borussia Dortmund managed to beat Zenit St. Petersburg by 4-2. Lewandowski getting a brace in it as well. Very, very interesting game here because Borussia Dortmund have been on a slide, especially in the German Bundesliga, but they've managed to come, great in this particular game. We'll find out what happens in it. We now look at Manchester United's game ongoing with Olympiacos. A lot has been said about Manchester United's poor form this season. It's continued out there. They're currently losing by 1-0. It looks like it's an unexpected result really there. And Patricia have already on a yellow card. It's Aylandro Dominguez actually having the goal for Olympiacos. So we'll just have some more time in this one. It's just the second half, and so maybe some good news can coming for Manchester United fans. Tomorrow we get to see the Ghanaian Kevin Prince Boateng up against Real Madrid. Very, very exciting in that. Ending the sports tonight. My name is George Adi Jr. Gifty will join us with some more. Have a good night.
Sport. On to some showbiz now. Afro Moses, also known as Moses Oja, is one of Ghana's most internationally recognized artists. Now, he has a wealth of experience in concert and tours in Europe and around the world. Sometimes labeled as the African James Brown, he has shared his views on Ghana's 2 dancehall giants who seem to be having a big feud between them.
in the whole Ghana. The Ghana link up bandana. We need peace. On my knees I pray.
The feud between the two Ghanaian musicians Samini and Shatawale, which doesn't seem to be ever dying out, has attracted some comments from a music guru. It is not exactly clear what started the feud between the two.
Yo, me I know dance up in my team, so if anybody try me, I go diss some Bush Boys. From when we start this, some boy now this. So that be the beat you could play for some master one shot at the winner. Hey, Samini, you is a idiot fool. That's why you found some views. Pussy Samini. Baby, say party. I am come from seaside and I pop the one come from Nima. Yo, we know original Nima people. You can't fool nobody around here. We are the people wonder. You hear me?
This has compelled legendary international-based Ghanaian artist Afro Moses to make a song about these two acts, advising them to stop the fight and work together as one.
I love Shatawale. He got a brilliant voice and all that. I love Samini. He has everything. They all have qualities in different ways. So there's no need for them to fight. The only thing they should be cooperative instead. And that's why I'm going to sing about the two of them. I love them, and I will never say this is the best or this. They're all great. Well, what you going on, Nabide? What you going on, Bantain? Shatawale, Samini. What you going on? Music is a cooperation. Music is not competition. What you going on, Shatawale? What you going on, Samini? What are going on? You are all too good. No fight. But about then, we got you here, and over say, Shatawale, you are king. Samini, you are king. They are all kings.
Showbiz can only hope and pray that the dreams of Afro Moses will come to pass one day, making way to finally put the issue of Samini and Shatawale to rest.
Fight like Mike Tyson. Me dance like Michael Jackson. Me kill a lion like...
Peace and unity in showbiz and on the dancehall floor. Well, that's it for showbiz tonight. It's been an hour of news and information, but before we leave you, our top stories again. President John Mahama has announced during his State of the Nation's address that his government is pursuing a progressively free senior high school education. He also indicated his government will continue to pursue measures to ensure sustainable health care for all Ghanaians. Police has arrested 5 men in connection with a planned mob attack on 2 police stations on Tuesday. In business, the Trade Ministry is set to roll out a comprehensive exercise to promote Ghanaian industries and their products. My name is Gifty Andropia. Many thanks for your time. But up next is PM Express with Nana Ansa Kwao. Please stay.